Okay, this is the beginning of chapter 12, and chapter 12 is about WH movement. WH is like WH phrases, I think you're familiar with. We use WH phrases in questions, and in this lecture, we are going to take a look at movement of these WH words and how to create questions. So let me first take a look at basic questions. In English, there are two kinds of questions. The first one is so-called yes/no questions, and you can either say yes or no as an answer. So did you see the octopus? Yes, no. But you never say dog as an answer. Or have you eaten yet? You say yes, I have, or no, I haven't. But you never say apple as an answer. The second kind of questions is what this chapter is all about. It's a WH question. So here you answer the question in a different way from the yes/no questions. So WH questions always start with the WH words like who or what. Who was here last week? You say Howard, but you never say yes or no as an answer. Or what do you have there? You say nail clippers, but you never say yes. So WH questions often ask about the information or you need a concrete answer. But yes/no questions, you just answer yes or no. And WH words, I think you all know, include who, what, where, when, why, which, X. So X is usually a noun like which friend or which color or which fruit, which book. And we have how at the end. A lot of Japanese high school teachers say 5W1H, go W1H, but here we have 6W because it includes, I guess, which X. But we have 6Ws and 1H here as WH words. And WH questions involve movement. I think you all know or intuitively understand that WH starts as an object of buy in this sentence. So I bought a book. When you want to ask about what you bought, you say, what did you buy? And a buy and the verb buy gives an agent theta role to I and a theme theta role to a book. Here in the second sentence, you know what originates as an object of buy and receives a theta role from the verb buy, but because of restriction or for some reason involving a WH question, WH moves to the beginning of the sentence. This is a restriction that's applicable in English. In Japanese, we don't have any rule to move a WH to the beginning of each sentence. So, where from? Where does WH move from? So, what did you say was hit? This is a tricky sentence that involves passive sentence and a WH question. So when you see where this word what originates from, you have to think, what is what? So,何が叩かれたと言いましたか? So, usually, 叩く, hit, the verb gives a theta role or patient theta role or theme theta role to an object. So what is something that you hit, right? So you hit something and you want to ask what it was. So what must have originated as an object position of hit, and then it moves to the subject position before was, and then it must have moved to the sentence initial position. So what gets theta role here, like John hit the ball, and then it moves to the subject position to get case, nominative case, and then it ends up here. When you see a tree, it looks like this. But let's now look at the sentence. What have you seen? あなたは何を見ましたか? So 何 is an object of 見る and it gets a theme theta role from C. And what you see is subject auxiliary inversion, and you see WH word appearing in the beginning of the sentence. So the tree will look like this. What is originally an object of C, but it moves to the beginning of the sentence. And have, the tense item have, auxiliary have, moves to a C position. This was already covered in chapter 10, I think. C has a plus Q feature because it's a question sentence. And in order to satisfy this plus Q feature, we need to move tense. And that's a head movement, T to C movement. And when you have a WH, you have an additional movement where WH goes to a specifier position of a CP. So this is what we've been discussing. Movement of T to C is motivated by plus Q feature. And we propose that there is another feature called plus WH feature, and it's in C position, and WH word must get close to it. So that's why what moves to specifier position of CP. And throughout the lectures this semester, we took a look at different types of movements. And let me just remind you of what kind of movements we've been studying. So we had V to T movement. This was in French, a verb moved to a tense, and it was motivated the need of suffix. So 英語では t が v に降りていました。これはどういう時に降りるかっていうと、テンスが動詞、テンスというようなサフィックスですね、設備時が動詞と一緒にならないといけないというような移動でした。And we also had T to C movement. This happened in yes/no questions. Also, it happens in WH questions, and it's motivated by a plus Q feature in under C. And in the previous chapter, we took a look at NP movements. There are two types of NP movement. The first one is raising. So we took a look at cases of verbs like seem or appear or is likely, and we saw that the subject moved from the embedded position to the matrix subject position. And we also took a look at passive structure. And lastly, in this chapter, we are going to learn how to draw trees for WH questions. And as we just previously saw in the slide before this, WH questions move to the beginning of the sentence because in English C has a plus WH feature, and WH words have to be close, or it has to appear near to plus WH complementizer. And next two slides I'm going to skip because these are we don't have time to discuss this, and it's quite interesting but English specific constraints. So we'll just skip these slides, and I'm going to talk about a summary and finish today's lecture. So WH movement moves WH phrase. We had 6 WH, W, and 1 H phrases, and we move them to the specifier position of CP. And it's motivated by a need to get WH phrase near to WH complementizer. And the last point about two English specific constraints are skipped in this semester. If I have an occasion, I'd like to talk to them later on, but you don't need to know about the third point of this summary slide. So next week we are going to start drawing trees for WH questions, and that would be everything that's going to be covered this semester. So okay, I will see you next week.